Spamton NEO. Probably the most iconic fight in Deltarune. Jevil, Tenna, the Hammer of Justice, the Roaring Knight, yeah, those all come really close. But let's be real for a second. If you played Deltarune, you've likely beaten this fight at least once. And even if you haven't played Deltarune, you've likely seen someone beat him in a YouTube video or something. And don't lie to me, you have totally heard Big Shot one way or another. What's to not love about this fight? From bringing back the Yellow Soul with a new spin, the references and nods to other bosses, the attack patterns being fun and creative. Big Shot, you could say this fight is perfect. Almost perfect. There's just one single thing that accumulates from a few minor flaws that keeps it from being the best boss in Deltarune. It's way too freaking easy. Yeah, Spamton NEO's difficulty has been a big discussion in the community since Chapter 2's release. The fight has been criticized for not being challenging enough compared to the other secret bosses, whether it be a handful of the attack patterns being pretty easy to dodge, to ways of choosing the fight, or just too many things that give the player wiggle room instead of an actual challenge. What makes this even more disappointing is the fact that Spamton NEO is the second secret boss after Jevil in Chapter 1, which is a much harder fight, even though it's literally at the beginning of the game. This was the main comparison when it was only Chapters 1 and 2, but now it's even more apparent with how hard the Shadow Mantle, the Roaring Knight, and the Hammer of Justice, or just Gerson Boom if you know who that is, are. But who am I? I'm the Pate-kun, and I'm now using this YouTube channel to make video essays of my favorite media. And one of my favorite media is Deltarune. So today we'll be answering an important question about one of its most controversial boss fights. Why? Why is Spamton NEO so easy? Chapter 2 undoubtedly has the best and widest character cast out of all the chapters so far, but only one character has stood the test of time and remained relevant and one of the fan favorites all these years later. Spamton. He's great because he's the embodiment of what makes Chapter 2 great. Funny and iconic character design, tons of lore, memorable, great music, but most importantly, fun boss fights. But we're not here to talk about the virgin, boring, basic Spamton or his lame, sleep-inducing boss fight. We're all here for the Chad Spamton NEO, and why the fight itself is not glooby. A well-known fact about Deltarune is that a large majority, if not most people, beat Spamton NEO on the first try, when almost every other secret boss takes most people multiple attempts to master. And I haven't even started with the infamous Teacups of Doom. Tons of people died on those at least once, myself included, which isn't the case for what comes after. So arguably, the basement Teacups are harder than Spamton NEO, which is kinda insane. There are three main reasons for Spamton NEO's low difficulty. The axe, F1, and the most damning in my opinion, the attack patterns. Let's get to it. Beat fights in Deltarune via acting or fighting. No difference with Spamton NEO, but honestly neither route in this fight is that hard to do. Both feel really similar due to not having a lot of decision making as well. Taking the violence route feels super linear, mercy route feels super linear and not as appealing really. Push a button in the menu and advance the fight no matter what happens. But what are the acts in this fight anyway, and why do they suck so much pippus? You see, each party member can use the Snap Act to gain 3% mercy, or Chris can use the Snap All Act for every party member, which gains 7%. If all of the other party members are down, and the last one standing uses a Snap Act, they snap desperately, which gains 4% mercy. These all seem like a non-issue in a vacuum, but the main problem lies in the fact that all of the acts that advance the fight cost no TP. I get that these acts are supposed to be similar to Queen's fight, and a large handful of acts and enemy encounters don't cost TP either, but this is a secret boss fight, for goodness sake. It's supposed to be harder and more strategic than others. You know what's ironic? Tenna, a mandatory boss fight by the way, has a similar system to Snap with minigames, but minigames cost TP, So unlike Spamton NEO, his fight actually has a considerable amount of strategy. Not to mention the mini-games themselves can destroy half of your entire party if you aren't careful, and the rim shot attack is probably harder than half of Spamton NEO's attacks. The character who's all about ripping you off basically gives you the win condition on a silver platter, while the character who's actually nice to the Lightners has a pretty steep TP cost for his axe. Crazy. The other two acts in this fight are Supercharge and Fluffy Guard. Susie can act Supercharge for 32 TP, which lets you spam shots and big shots much faster for 20 shots, while making them travel quicker. Rousey can act Fluffy Guard for 16%, which summons 2 orbiting fluff balls that protect the soul during attacks and can be stopped in place by holding X. Either way, both are a bit OP and cheese basically every attack pattern Spamton NEO throws at you, and when stacked together, they can get kinda ridiculous. There's also the X-Slash and Fried Peepus axe for Chris in the Weird Route Spamton NEO fight. We'll get to that later, and besides, the video is mainly focused on the normal route fight, since that version is arguably more flawed and problematic to the difficulty curve of Deltarune.
I'm Michael Jordan. Stop it. Get some help.
In Spamton's fight, he says,
"Press F1 for help."
and what do you know? Once in every Spamton fight, if you press F1, Spamton Angels give a 50% heal for your entire party, for no TP cost, and without skipping the turn. This is a cute Easter egg and all, and I personally don't mind it in Spamton's first fight. Some of his attacks can mess you up, and even though you have heal deal, having only one health bar with no healer can be tricky. So F1 here gives you just a bit of leeway without making the fight a cakewalk. I also don't mind it in Weird Route Spamton NEO, because like in the first fight, you only have one party member, and it's harder than the normal route Spamton NEO. The problem is it being in the normal route fight, you once again get a fully healed party for free without skipping your turn, and you can still even heal normally that turn. Look me in the face and say that isn't stupidly OP. Got hurt badly by one of his attacks? No need for items or Rousey, just press a button and you're good as new. Quote unquote, hard secret boss my ass. A lot of Spamton NEO's attacks are super easy if you know what you're doing. Most attacks come from the front, a few come from the sides, but none come directly from the back, except for his first and final attack, which are both a joke. The fact that a lot of projectiles can be destroyed with shots or big shots doesn't help either, not gonna lie. Flying Head's attack is super easy, just spam shots or big shots. The second time this attack is used, the heads come from different angles and directions while Spamton fires shots from his arm cannon. Can trip you up if you aren't careful. The mail truck attacks are also really easy if you just don't spam and have good reflexes. Heart attack, once again, is pretty easy. Just aim your shots while moving up and down to dodge the projectiles the heart shoots out, and it should be no problem. The second version is a bit harder because the heart and projectiles move faster, but it's still nothing too difficult. Final heart attack is harder than both, with 2 extra mini hearts that don't leave much room for error, but even still, isn't the hardest attack in the world. A call for you attack can either be the easiest or hardest attack to dodge in the fight honestly, depending on your timing. But as long as you line up your big shots, it should be easy. The second version has double the amount of pipuses on screen, but at the same time that makes it easier to line up big shots, so honestly it depends on the player. The spider phone hand attacks can be pretty tricky. The first one usually trips me up at least once every time. The harder variant of this attack isn't used until you take damage against the standard variant at least once, which is then replaced the next time it would be used. It can be really unforgiving if you aren't careful. I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I find the eye, nose, and mouth attacks one of the hardest to dodge in the entire game. The whole attack pattern is a pure bullet hell. There's bullets coming from the bottom at different angles, directly towards you. It's a handful. If all parts of the face are destroyed the next time it would be used, he just stares at you and does nothing. The attack fully resets the next time it would be used. And then Spamton NEO does his cooldown attack, a call for me, which is literally nothing. The only other secret boss with a notable cooldown before his attack is Jebel, but it still was an attack that kept you on your toes. That's 2 attacks back to back where Spamton NEO does nothing. Weird. Spamton NEO's final attack fucking sucks. It's genuinely just awful, let's be honest. The power of Neo is really cool and flashy, but this is so goddamn easy it's not even funny. Like, what even is this? He literally just uses one of his regular attacks from his first fight. The only difference is you have to spam shots. Then you move slightly up and down a few times. That's literally it. And the whole deed barely lasts like 20 seconds. Comparing Spamton NEO's final attack to the other secret boss's final attacks is like comparing a coughing baby to hydrogen bombs, and it's not even close. Even some mandatory bosses have harder final attacks. This is so lame. I don't know what Toby's team was on when they made this, but geez, what an unclimactic way to end the fight. 0 out of 10. Overall, Spamton NEO's attacks can be swell or hell depending on the player, but for the most part, you could put half of them in a mandatory boss and no one would say, "Oh, these are too hard."
Same as it ever was. 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 Same as it.
There are a few things I would tweak to make this fight better. Not necessarily harder, but at least make it feel less like a mandatory or bonus boss like the mics. And at least make it decently hard and more satisfying to beat. But firstly, let's quickly cover over. If you hold Z while spamming enter, this happens. Even though the enrage glitch makes a lot of attack patterns basically non-existent, the small room for error due to Spamton's insane attack buff when you use it makes it basically impossible for a normal player to actually beat the fight with. Not without multiple attempts at least. And if you're at that point, the fight has actually done its purpose anyway, being hard. So I think it's fine for being untouched. It's a neat and clever Easter egg that's useful when it's in the right hands, like no-hitters or speedrunners, even though it makes half of the attacks a complete joke. Everything's mostly the same. The main difference is you only have Chris, which means you only have one health bar and no supercharger Fluffy Guard. You can only beat the fight through violence. And you have Fried Peepus and X-Slash, both 25 and 32% TP respectively, to do heavy damage without Susie and heal without Rouse. Plus the hard variant of the Spider Phone is used first. He also has a desperation move after his final attack, but guess what? That's right, it sucks ass. Overall, I think the weird route version of this fight is fine the way it is. It took me more than 30 attempts to beat him once. Skill issue? Yeah, whatever. Okay, fine. I don't think Toby has to, or even should, buff either Spamton NEO fight in a future update. Even though he's super flawed, I think he's still fine the way he is. He's a nice, fun break after Jevil, and a well-deserved breather before the Shadow Mantle and Roaring Knight for the player. But if I had to give some suggestions for what his team could change to keep it more in line with the other secret bosses, I will give these 3 things, as I promised. 1. Tweak the defeated face attack, a call for me, and final attack to be harder for both Spamton NEOs. These 3 attacks make the fight so easy, to literally just give you a free turn. The defeated face attack should regenerate the last part of the face you destroyed, then fully regenerate as normal the next time it would be used. For a call from me, have a few mini Spamtons go to the left side of the screen. Perhaps make them explode like the Peepus Bomb attack, or just have the travel speed be slower, similar to Jevil's Diamond cooldown attack. Either one works. And for the power of Neo, I would prefer it if the team just built this attack from the ground up again. Maybe have him shoot in 3 or 4 rows instead of just 2. But at most, I think it wouldn't hurt to increase the amount of dollar projectiles that came from the back, and buff the mouth spew attack so that you can't just camp in the middle and dodge everything, while making both phases of the attack last for a bit longer. 2. Make F1 only heal 20% HP for each party member in the normal Spamton NEO fight. Because this is a full party heal instead of just 1, they could have made the percentage it heals each HP bar in Spamton NEO's fight different. Maybe 20% for each party member instead. Both are roughly 50%. You get close to the same value, just split into thirds. 3. Make the single snap act cost TP. Since your TP is basically never going to be depleted in this fight, since you get DP by destroying projectiles on top of gaining the regular Graze DP, along with Supercharge and Fluffy Guard lasting for multiple turns, not one, you're going to have a considerable amount of spare TP that's being used for literally nothing. So why not use it to progress the fight? Snap should cost, say, 6 to 11% for each party member, which forces the player to use Susie and Rouse's bonus acts more sparingly, along with giving the player an incentive to actually defend and destroy as many projectiles as possible. Not only that, it would still be possible to beat the fight in the intended amount of turns. The player just needs to be a tad more cautious. So with all of that considered, I think Spamton NEO can be summed up into 2 words. Too intuitive. It has a lot of small details that don't hurt the fight on their own, but as a whole, add up to a boss that goes all out on the fun factor and craziness while sacrificing actual challenge. It feels like Toby and his team had a ton of fun designing this fight, focusing on all the minor details instead of polishing the difficulty. Over-polished, you could say? But let's not end this video on a negative note. Just because something is easy doesn't mean it's bad. There's tons of video games out there that are easy, but have more to offer than harder games. As long as something is really fun, nothing else matters. Well, this video has been going on for long enough. Maybe like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you'd like, and see you soon.